For some, retirement is the best time of their life. Unfortunately, that's not the case for the majority. The fact is that over 80% of people will retire on $400 a week or less, which is barely enough to survive on, let alone do the things you've always dreamed of. When the pension was first introduced, it was set at 80% of the average wage. But the government soon realised this would not be sustainable, and the percentage started to drop. And it kept dropping. Right now, it's around 25%. To combat this, the government also introduced forced savings through super. Great, right? Well, that all depends. Again, the majority of people are retiring with less than $100,000 in super. On the other hand, some are retiring with millions in super. It's often thought this comes down to the job you have, and in some cases, that's right. But what if I was to tell you that you could retire with more super than someone that earns double, triple, even quadruple what you earn? It really comes down to how your super is structured. To demonstrate what is possible through super before you retire, we're going to explore the mathematical formula known as the Rule of 72. It's quite simple. The first equation is to take the number 72 and divide that by the interest rate you're receiving. For example, 5%. The equation would look like this. 72 divided by 5 equals 14.4 years for your money to double. Now, the second equation is to then take the number of years you have left until retirement, for example, 40 years, and divide that by the answer of the first equation. So, 40 divided by 14.4 equals 2.7 times your money would double. So, let's look at young Larry, who's 27 years old with 40 years until retirement. Larry has $10,000 in super in a defensive fund earning 5%. Using the rule of 72, we see that the first double of 10,000 becomes 20,000, and that 20,000 becomes 40,000 from the second double. When Larry reaches 67, he'll fall short by 3 years of his money doubling completely again. So Larry will retire on a super amount of around $70,000 instead of $80,000. Most super funds have a number of fund types, ranging from a defensive type, which gives around 5%, right through to a growth fund, with a rate of return of around 12%. Because you're lumped in with everyone else, most employers will place your super towards the lower end of the scale, because they have to look after the requirements of the oldest person in their employment. Now, let's look at the difference that could be achieved if Larry's super was invested in some other fund types with different rates of return ranging up to a growth fund returning 12%. Using the rule of 72, we see there is a significant reduction in the amount of years it takes for Larry's money to double, which in turn increases the number of doubles Larry's investment will have by the time he reaches retirement. Now you can really see the power of compound interest at work. There is a significant difference from a defensive fund at 5% reaching a total of around $70,000 compared to a 12% growth fund reaching almost $1 million in the same time frame. And keep in mind, this doesn't include any further employer contributions. Just imagine where Larry's retirement fund would be with a lifetime of employer contributions added to the equation. So, why doesn't everybody use a growth fund level? Well, put simply, the greater the return, the greater the risk. However, knowledge is the key to getting past our fears. If we look at the figures of the Australian stock market since the year 1900, even though we saw the Great Depression, the recession we had to have, and the recent global financial crisis, we see that the average annual rate of return is 13.6% over the long term. So, how do your numbers look using the Rule of 72? And what type of fund should you be in? What kind of retirement do you dream of? No matter your age, it's never too late to speak with your super life and make a difference to your retirement.